Welcome to a deep dive into Colonial America. We're going back to school a bit today with a 6th grade reader.
Oh, wow.
But you might think that's a little simple for us.
Right.
But trust me, there's a lot more to uncover here than you might think.
Absolutely. We often simplify this era. You're right.
Yeah.
But the reality is much more complex and fascinating.
Well, and it really struck me how the reader starts with this question.
Yeah.
How were the New England, Middle, and Southern colonies similar and different?
No.
I mean, it's easy to imagine early America as this unified front right.
Right.
But in reality, it was so diverse.
Oh, absolutely.
Languages, religions, the reasons people even came here.
Yeah.
It's like they were separate countries entirely.
Yeah, you could argue that.
Yeah.
And the reader digs into what made each region tick. And that's key, because those regional differences,
Right.
they weren't just a passing phase.
Right.
They had this ripple effect, shaping the political, economic, and social landscape of the United States.
For centuries.
For centuries to come.
It's like the reader is handing us a key to understanding the country today.
I like that.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Like, we often hear about the melting pot of America.
Right.
And the reader definitely touches on that.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't always harmonious, was it?
Not at all. Think about the middle colonies.
Okay.
You had German farmers, sticking with German farmers,
Hmm?
Dutch wagon builders forming their own communities.
Right.
It took time for that true cultural exchange to take root and blossom.
So we've got these distinct regions, each with its own character.
Yeah.
But they couldn't have been completely isolated, right? How did they interact?
Well,
Was there a sense of a shared American identity at this point?
that is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That historians are still debating today.
I bet.
There were certainly common threads, the English language, legal traditions,
Of course.
but the colonies also had vastly different economies, shaped by their geography and resources.
You're right. The book mentioned New England's rough terrain and harsh winters.
Right.
Not exactly ideal for those sprawling tobacco plantations.
No, not at all.
You see in the movies.
Exactly. New Englanders turned to fishing, shipbuilding, and eventually commerce,
Made sense?
utilizing those dense forests and natural harbors.
Right.
The southern colonies, blessed with fertile soil and a longer growing season, became economically dependent on agriculture, and unfortunately on the backs of enslaved Africans. This stark difference in their economic foundations would have major implications down the line.
Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how interconnected everything is, how the land itself shaped their destinies.
Absolutely.
And speaking of destinies, the reader points out these 3 distinct types of colonies: charter, royal, and proprietary.
Right.
I admit I kind of glossed over that in school, but
Yeah.
it's actually really important, isn't it?
It is, because it reminds us that colonial America wasn't a monolith.
Okay.
Each type of colony had a different relationship with England, a different system of governance, and a different degree of autonomy.
Right.
Understanding these distinctions gives us a much richer understanding of how and why the colonists ultimately declared their independence.
It's like those seemingly small details can unlock a deeper understanding of history.
I agree.
But let's zoom in even further.
Okay.
What were these colonies really like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
How did people live? What were their values? That's where the reader truly comes alive with these vivid details.
Okay.
For example, New Englanders were apparently obsessed with education, which for the 1700s seems pretty extraordinary.
It was groundbreaking. That little book, The New England Primer,
Right.
filled with rhymes and religious lessons, it became the cornerstone of literacy in America.
In Adam's Fall, we sinned all. Yep, that one.
There you go.
It's amazing how those little details stick with you.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the middle colonies and that image of the melting pot.
Okay.
The reader paints this picture of German farmers, Dutch artisans, all these different groups coming together.
Right.
But it wasn't always easy, was it?
Definitely not a seamless blend right away.
Yeah.
Imagine you've crossed an ocean to start a new life.
Right.
You'd probably gravitate towards familiarity, seek comfort in a shared language and customs, right?
Makes sense.
The reader uses the example of German farmers settling near other German farmers, Dutch wagon builders forming their own communities.
Right.
It reminds us that even amidst a new world,
Yeah.
those old world ties remain strong.
It's almost like a tapestry being woven, right? All these different threads coming together to create something new.
I like that.
But woven into that tapestry, we can't ignore the presence of a dark thread: slavery.
Right.
The reader doesn't shy away from it, calling it a brutal institution.
Yeah,
It's a difficult topic,
it is.
but so essential to understanding this period of history and its legacy.
What's important to remember is that while slavery existed in all 13 colonies,
Right.
it was different in each region.
Okay.
In the South, you had fertile land and a growing demand for cash crops, like tobacco and cotton.
Right.
This led to a dependence on enslaved labor.
And that really took root in the South.
Deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reader mentions the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
This massive, horrific enterprise that forcibly transported millions of Africans to the Americas.
Yeah.
The description of the Middle Passage, the journey across the Atlantic, is just heartbreaking.
It's awful.
Cramped, disease-ridden ships.
Yeah.
The reader even mentions a 15% mortality rate.
It's a staggering statistic.
It really is.
It reflects just how inhumane those voyages were.
And even surviving the journey.
Oh,
that was
right.
just the beginning, right?
Imagine being ripped from your homeland, your family, everything you knew,
Yeah.
and forced into a life of cruelty.
Yeah. It's just
A chapter of American history that we can't afford to forget, and the reader does a good job of emphasizing that.
Yeah.
The brutality of that system.
It's hard to fathom the strength that must have taken to endure such suffering.
It really is.
And yet, amidst this darkness, the reader also highlights the resilience of enslaved Africans.
Yes.
It talks about storytelling, music, crafts like metalwork and quilting being passed down.
Right.
It seems like these traditions offered a lifeline to their heritage.
Exactly.
A way to maintain their humanity in the face of such dehumanization.
Precisely. Those acts of cultural preservation weren't just about holding on to the past.
Yeah.
They were a powerful form of resistance. It was a way for enslaved people to maintain their identity, to keep their spirits alive,
Right.
and to plant the seeds of hope.
And think about that legacy.
Yeah.
The vibrant traditions of storytelling, music, and art that continue to enrich American culture today.
Absolutely.
Those traditions are a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who endured the unimaginable.
I agree.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit finds a way to shine through.
Yeah.
And speaking of shedding light on the past, the reader includes excerpts from two primary sources that give us these incredible glimpses into daily life in colonial America.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Primary sources are like windows into history.
They really are.
They give us those firsthand accounts, those personal perspectives that you just can't get from a textbook.
Right.
It's history coming alive.
Exactly. And the reader chose two really fascinating voices.
Okay.
First, we have Sarah Kimball Knight, a woman who journeyed alone through Connecticut in 1704.
Wow.
Her journal entries are full of these amazing details about life in early New England. She talks about the strictness of Puritan society. Apparently, even something as simple as engaging in what she calls harmless merriment could land you in trouble.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine
Wow.
being publicly whipped for having a little fun?
It's intense.
It really highlights how religion controlled every aspect of life in some colonies.
Right. And then we have Francis Pistorius writing about Pennsylvania
Right.
in 1683.
Okay.
His account is so different from Knight's experiences.
In what way?
Well, he describes Philadelphia as this bustling hub,
Oh, wow.
a city on the rise,
Okay.
But even amidst all this growth,
Yeah.
he highlights the challenges faced by German immigrants in Germantown,
Right.
trying to establish themselves in this new land.
It brings us back to that melting pot idea, doesn't it?
It does.
It wasn't always easy.
Right.
And those cultural differences sometimes led to friction.
And misunderstanding. Yeah.
Pistorius's account reminds us that becoming American wasn't always a smooth process.
And honestly,
Yeah.
the legacy of those early immigrant experiences is still shaping the nation today.
Absolutely. These stories, captured in their own words, help us see beyond just like the textbook version of history.
Totally. It's about appreciating those human experiences.
Right, exactly. They remind us that history isn't just dates and events. It's about people,
Yes.
their dreams, their struggles, and their triumphs.
I like that.
It's like each story adds another dimension to the picture.
It makes it richer.
It does. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into colonial America.
We have.
From those stark regional differences to the horrors of slavery and the enduring strength of those who fought for freedom.
It's remarkable.
It's clear this period was anything but simple.
Not at all.
And it resonates with us even today.
Absolutely.
Right.
As we deal with issues of identity,
Right.
equality, and what it even means to be American,
Right.
looking back at colonial America can be really valuable.
It's that reminder that the past is never truly past.
Well said.
It shapes the present and influences the future.
It's all connected.
So next time you encounter a simple textbook, remember there's a whole world waiting to be explored inside.
Don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Exactly. A world of fascinating details, complex characters, and enduring legacies
that continue to shape our world today.
It's been a great deep dive.
It really has.